Guys, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Pieter-Louis.
Welcome to our podcast, Legend and Lure, a World Tour. Today's tale is one that sailed the seas of folklore for centuries. The legend of the Flying Dutchman. The ghost ship is a haunting symbol of maritime tragedy. It's a story with roots deep in South African maritime history. One that still sends chills down the spine of sailors to this day. Let's jump down the rabbit hole into the eerie tale and see where the cursed vessels come from. So, the Flying Dutchman is often described as a ghostly ship that sails the oceans forever, never able to reach its port. Legend has it that the ghostly crew sent messages, sometimes to land, sometimes to people long dead. And if anyone answers, doom is sure to follow. The Flying Dutchman has been spotted at sea under strange, ominous conditions and is usually seen by sailors on dark, stormy nights. Some say it's a cursed vessel sailing without a crew, and its mere sight is an omen of doom. The legend of the Flying Dutchman is most famously tied to the water around the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa. This ship appears on rare occasions, glowing ghostly in the fog, and always seems to be caught in a never-ending storm. It's said that throughout the centuries, sailors feared that a sighting of the Flying Dutchman meant certain doom. Some believed it foretold death, either on the voyage or in the weeks to follow. Others claimed that merely seeing the ship brought madness, disaster, or shipwreck. Whenever it appeared in glowing fog or storm, one thing was certain: encountering the Flying Dutchman was never a good sign. Now, who was the captain of this ghost ship, you ask? Well, this is where the story gets really interesting. The Flying Dutchman is often linked to a cursed captain named Captain Hendrik van den Denken. According to the legend, Van der Denken was an arrogant and reckless Dutch sea captain in the 17th century. He was attempting to round the Cape of Good Hope, but as he neared the treacherous water, a violent storm hit. Van der Denken, in his arrogance, refused to turn back or seek shelter. In one version of the tale, he even cursed God, swearing that he would make it around the Cape even if it took him until Judgment Day. And so it is said that because of his blasphemy and defiance, he and his crew were cursed. The ship was doomed to wander endlessly at sea, never allowed to dock or rest. For some, it's thought that the captain's spirit still wanders the ship, lost in an endless cycle of punishment for his pride. As with many old sea legends, there are different versions of the tale. While Van der Denken is the most widely recognized captain, some versions speak of Captain Valkenburg. The legend is mostly the same, but in this version, the captain who loved gambling played a game of dice with a supernatural entity or the devil, and he ended up losing. What were the stakes of the game? It was the souls of him and the entire ship. As a result of his loss, he and the crew were condemned to sail the seas, unable to dock for eternity. In yet another version, no port would allow the ship to dock due to a plague outbreak on the ship, forcing them to sail in the storm. The most chilling part of the Flying Dutchman myth are the reports of sightings. Sailors on other ships would claim to see the ghost ship, glowing eerily on the horizon, sometimes approaching so closely they could hear the sound of the crew at work. But whenever they tried to get closer, the ship would vanish into thin air. Am I doing this podcast on my own today?
No, I know a lot about ghost ships and I've got a lot of info, so I don't want to say something that you're going to say anyway, or stuff that I do know. What I didn't know is that Flying Dutchman was bound or set port to the southern part of Africa, because the myth is quite older than the discovery of South Africa, for that matter.
Okay.
Because South Africa was found in 1652, and we're in the 17th
no
century,
clue.
so basically in the same era. So that means there were ghost ship sightings before they even found Africa, South Africa for that matter. So it's just interesting, and obviously on the ghost ship side of it, the Flying Dutchman, I keep on thinking of the Flying Dutchman in SpongeBob. And I can't imagine SpongeBob being in the southern part of Africa. I thought it was more like the Americas of like Los Angeles or what do you call it, Florida? I think SpongeBob was in Florida.
I have no clue.
Well, that's just always what I thought. I thought it was a West Indian or somewhere, Bermuda, somewhere. All the pirates always were the Flying Dutchman, not southern parts of Africa. Because I know we spoke about doing a lot about were they pirates in Africa in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. Because obviously there were pirates everywhere else. Did pirates ever land in Africa? So yeah, that's just it's a complete.
Pirates on the
so basically, I had my mind blown in the first line saying that it was in the southern part of Africa, at the Cape of Good Hope or the Cape of Storms or Diaz or whatever you wanted to call it at that point.
The Cape of Good Hope was initially named Cape of Storms by Bartholomew Diaz in 1488.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously they had to have found it in 1488.
Yeah, so it's
King John II of Portugal later renamed it Cape of Good Hope because the discovery was considered a positive sign of hope for finding a sea route to India.
so all this. There was basically 200 years of where people actually they saw Africa, but nobody actually landed at Africa. Well, the southern part of Africa.
Apparently he sank his ships when he tried, so...
Yeah, so they didn't do it because, like I said, Jan van Riebeeck landed Africa at South Africa, 1652. I'm pretty sure about that. It's a number that keeps on being part of my mind. But I know Bartholomew Diaz because I know he found Mozambique, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you'll say, I have no clue.
Oh,
I don't have that much knowledge of history.
yeah, it's things I know. I don't know why I know the stuff I know. But anyway, while I'm actually taking over the podcast, on the ghost ship part of it, the plague outbreak is also very interesting because yet again we were talking about the southern parts of Africa. Plague never hit southern parts of Africa, so if it was a plague ship, we're back in the north because the plague...
Okay, but remember they weren't from South Africa.
No, I understand, yeah, so it's just spotted there.
It was a Dutch ship.
It's a Dutch ship, yeah. Well, the Dutch... Back into my little history seminar that I've going on, yeah. So the Dutch obviously found South Africa. Bartholomew Diaz was Spanish. So it was a big thing between going around Africa from India back to London because it didn't have the... What do they call the Strait of Gibraltar, which is in Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry, I might be completely wrong there. But they didn't have that strait going through Africa to get to London. So they always had to go around Africa, which is a long way just for a little piece of land. Well, it's a big piece of land, but it's so close, but they had to ship a long way. But anyway, just back to the plague. So because of the plague, and I like plaguey stuff, and
We know.
there we go to the plague again. Hey, you said plague, so I'm allowed to speak plague. So plague, were basically, I think the first port to land a ship with plague was Italy, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so that's quite up north again. We want to go into the Ghost Ship Valley. How much do you want to know more? Because I know more stuff. Yeah, do you want to continue first?
Well, first I have to find where I was because I have no clue anymore.
Anyway, okay, so let's get back to ghost ships. I think the most famous one, except for obviously SpongeBob, the second famous would be Pirates.
Hey.
What?
I'll talk about the most famous stuff.
Okay,
here,
you'll get to the
thank
most
you.
famous. Then, well, there's a SpongeBob one, which is basically that's what I see when I hear the Flying Dutchman. The other one will be
That's
the one.
just
I think Pirates of the Caribbean.
That's just sad. That SpongeBob is the first thing. Anyway,
No, but the,
One of the most famous-
Wait. So there was the Pirates of the Caribbean one as well, wasn't there? Wasn't the Blackpool the Flying Dutchman? Am I jumping ahead now? Was it the same thing?
one of the most famous sightings of the Flying Dutchman occurred on July 11th, 1881, when the HMS Bashante was at sea. Among those aboard was 16-year-old Prince George, who would later become King George V. and his older brother, Prince Albert Victor, at 4 a.m., the crew saw a glowing red light, and in it, the ghostly ship appeared. This sighting was witnessed by 13 people. When the bassinet neared the place where the Flying Dutchman was spotted, it had seemingly vanished into thin air. Later that morning, one of the crew members fell from the topmast, losing his life in the process. The eerie part? He was the first person to have noticed the Flying Dutchman. In fact, the ship is so infamous that it influenced popular culture, even made its way into Pirates of the Caribbean film. Thank you, Pieter-Louis. Remember that cursed ship that sailed through the fog in the third movie? It's the Flying Dutchman. The eerie ship captained by Davy Jones is inspired by it, forever bound to the sea, appearing through fog and storm.
I didn't actually know it was the third movie. I can't remember the order of the movies. I thought the Black Pearl was a Flying Dutchman, so it's not.
Yes, it is.
How does
it's Davy Jones.
Yeah, Davy Jones was
the ship under the water that came up.
Yes, that was the Black Pearl.
Crew.
No, that's Black Pearl.
No, it wasn't the Black Pearl. The Black Pearl was Johnny Depp's boat.
Yes, it was Captain Jack Sparrow's boat, which was taken over by...
It was the Flying Dutchman. They also called it the Flying Dutchman.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but why do you say the third movie? What, not the first movie?
Because Davy Jones wasn't in the first movie.
Anyway, except for movie stuff. I think you know that much better than me. You're a big Johnny Depp fan. Anyway, allegedly. Where were I now?
This is me rolling my eyes.
And then Davy Jones would have been... Davy Jones is basically the sea version of the Grim Reaper, or was it the Gatekeeper?
No, he's basically...
Well, not in the movie, but in real life. Davy Jones would have... So according to sailors, Davy Jones was the devil, the bad place, the dead place. If you died, you met Davy Jones. It was a saying.
I have no clue.
So they actually just made a character out of a saying. Are we Googling?
Yes. Behind Davy Jones. Maritime folklore, a name associated with the bottom of the sea, often referred to as Davy Jones' locker, where those whom drown are believed to reside. The name origins are debated, with theories running from a real-life Welsh pirate to a combination of Saint David of Wales and the biblical Jonah.
So basically just...
He's also a character in Pirates of the Caribbean.
So death of anybody that drowns.
Portrayed as captain of the Flying Dutchman, cursed to wander the seas forever.
After...
See,
well,
not
basically
Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Flying Dutchman, that's the boat.
Yes. No, there was difference. I just thought that Flying Dutchman only came a bit later in the movies. But anyway, what did you
Yes,
say?
the Flying Dutchman did.
Yeah,
on the first
there was a
movie.
Black Pearl that was Johnny Depp's.
Yes.
But in the third movie, there was an actual Flying Dutchman ship.
Yes, the one that was underwater and came up in the eerie mist and
Okay.
killed people
I'll go watch the movie again.
looking for their gold. Interestingly, the Flying Dutchman wasn't just a legend in South Africa. The tale of a phantom ship has been a part of global folklore, popping up in various cultures, each adding its own twist in some places. The ship is said to appear before storms or natural disasters, warning those who see it of impending peril. There are occasional reports of sightings even up to today. Sailors and travelers who cross the Cape of Good Hope have continued to claim that they've seen strange lights or eerie ships appearing on the horizon. The most recent accounts are more mysterious than ever, and there's no clear explanation from them. Some even say that the ship appears to vanish just as quickly as it's seen, leaving behind only the chill of the wind and the sense of dread. Some people think it could just be a natural phenomenon or mirage, what sailors call a superior mirage. This happened when light bends over the horizon, creating the illusion of a ship, but when the weather conditions are just right, it sure feels like the Flying Dutchman is more than a mirage. And of course, others believe it the curse coming to life, keeping the legend alive to this very day.
Uh, I'm going to go back to spectacle, spectacle. Your glasses, skeptical again. What was what would they have found at sea at that time? Why would they think they saw a ghost ship except for the mirage? Because I've never seen this mirage they're speaking about, but I think
because we live at the ocean and everything.
No, but I'm just
and we're
thinking.
there daily
I would think it's something that people know about. I know that people do see things on the ocean because of light bending. It's more of a radio thing than anything else. But what would you have? So there were a lot of ships at sea back then, but not as many as now. And now we don't have that many sightings of ghost ships. I know the actual ghost ships we have now are real ghost ships, like the Mary Celeste, and a couple of others, which is a very interesting topic, the Mary Celeste. You know the Mary Celeste?
No.
So the Mary Celeste was a merchant ship that sailed from America to London, I believe, across the Atlantic, and when it reached Ireland, just off the coast of Ireland, or a couple of 100 miles off Ireland, a ship found the Mary Celeste. There were no crew aboard. Everything else was still in place. Everything was exactly as it were, just no more crew. The ship just sailed itself
I
from...
remember.
Yeah.
It wasn't it sailed itself. They didn't know how it got there.
Yeah, so but they just got there without a crew. And then the boat... But the funny thing about the Mary Celeste, if I know there's two of them. This might be the wrong one. But the Mary Celeste, they did try to take the boat to port, but then she sank before they got to port. So nobody actually saw what was left of the ship. So it's a very big myth of whether or not it was a ghost ship, whether it sank by itself. It was actually just found, it was just a story. Because I know there's another one where they actually did take the boat to port, and that was an insurance scam, allegedly.
No, I didn't know about the insurance part, but I remember the boat being completely empty.
Because that's what we know nowadays as a ghost ship. It's not the Flying Dutchman, it's that as well, but it's like Mary Celeste. It's I think there was a recent one now in Australia about the sailing yacht that basically just it found its way around Australia and then without a crew. I think there's actually a lot of them ghost ships and stuff that's happening now.
And why is that more ghost ship than the Flying Dutchman?
No, I'm just there has to be a reason.
I mean,
everything has to have a reason.
Actual king saw it.
Well, a 14-year-old boy
16.
saw it. A 16-year-old boy saw it. Well, did he actually see it, or was he just on board?
One of the accounts physically say he saw it with the crew. So they were all awake. Because they're talking about 13 people, and they say he was one of them that saw it.
Okay, then again, this is at night.
That was
So
at
you
4
just-
o'clock
In the morning, 4 a.m.
a.m.
So it's pitch dark. It's dark. Well, I think this was in the southern parts again. So 4 a.m. is still dark in the mornings.
And your point is, you can
What
still
do you see in the horizon? You see a couple of lights. How do you know it's a ship? How do you know it's a ghost ship? Why could it have been another
Let's
ship?
go back to the time. Was there street lights?
No.
I'm probably betting there wasn't a lighthouse either, because like you say, they weren't really in South Africa then, so...
Yes, but remember, they don't have radio to communicate with each other. So there might have been another ship. It might have been the lights of a ship. What made this a ghost ship? Did it just...
Because it disappeared.
Yes, but they're not going to, there's a boat, I'm going to stand and wait for you to come to me.
No, they went to it.
Yeah, they went to it. Obviously, you're going to run away because you don't know who's chasing you. So suddenly, there's a boat coming towards me. I'm going to leave because it's a big open ocean.
Exactly, so you will still see it heading away.
Or what if it was just a faster boat?
You will still see it leaving. It won't
What
disappear.
if it just sank?
Then you'll still know it sank. It's not just going to be poof and it sank.
Because even now, if I were to go out on the ocean now and I will find something on the ocean, I'm probably going to run away from it. I won't go to something I see, and I won't necessarily just assume it's a ghost thing.
You're talking nonsense. You are the one person that will go there to, I want to see what's happening here.
Well, not after the guy just fell off the crow's nest.
He didn't immediately. He fell off later today.
Oh.
Not at the moment he saw it.
I think they were drinking. He fell. A lot of things
13 people won't
Yeah, including a 16-year-old boy they have to have a talking to.
There's no hope for you.
Any other ghost ships in the area?
Not that I looked into, no.
Because in the southern parts, like I said, the ghost ships are fun. But like I said, I just know ghost ships as actual ships without a crew that do arrive at port, or you do find them. I think there's actually like still one
Ghost
cargo
ship does not mean it's without a crew. Ghost
Because
ships
even-
mean that it's a ship that has sailed. There can be crew on, they're just not alive.
Yes. Can be.
Like in the Flying Dutchman. They physically, there's parts where they say when they come close, they can hear the crew sailing the ship. They can see things, but then it disappears. Basically, the moral of the story is if you see it, make sure somebody else saw it first.
And how do you do that?
You find out very quickly which one saw it first, and if it was you, then you go hide.
So we're going into... Okay, so this just says mythical. So we're on the mythical ghost ship part of it. So maybe not the real thing. But I just really like the idea of ships without crew. It just... Well, with crew, without crew.
The
I
ship
think
is not mythical.
if we
The
look
ship
at,
existed.
at
The
our
captain
other-
existed.
If we look at our other podcasts that we did about it, is it a ghost? Is it a vampire? Is it a zombie? Is it a apparition? What is it? This is basically then the mythical apparition of something that might not actually have existed or did exist.
No, the boat existed. The captain existed.
Yeah, but not existing
They're
anymore.
saying it's myth because it's a myth that you can see
Yeah,
it because there's no proof. There's
Yes,
not
it's
physical.
untangible. It's untangible. You can't touch it.
Yes.
We can probably, but don't.
No, you can because it disappears before you get there.
Yes. Anyway, I see the MV Joyota is a luxury yacht turned commercial vessel, mysteriously disappeared in the South Pacific in 1955 and was later found adrift.
The envy what?
The MV Joyita.
Okay, what has that to do with envy?
No, I'm just back.
So it's a new ship.
It's a new ship, but also
Okay, but
seen
you
as
have to inform us of that because I'm
No, I'm
thinking
just
of the
reading the rest of
HMS
it.
Bashante, and you're all of a sudden. No, wait, that was the King's boat. I'm thinking of the Flying Dutchman.
I'm trying to find other mythical boats. See, what is that one repetition thing? What's the one thing that makes it all come together to be ghost ships? What is it that everybody else sees? Is it just one ghost ship out there?
No, there's a lot of ghost ships out.
Is it just the Flying Dutchman? What other mythical ones? Is it the same one everyone sees? Does everyone see the Flying Dutchman and
Yes.
everyone sees the Flying
see the
Dutchman, they just have a
same-
different name for it?
No, most of them call it the Flying Dutchman, but they do say there's a lot of sightings all through the country. It's just this one specifically is more in that area of Cape Hope.
Because I know, I think the Kalush is a boat that's like they have the Davy Jones, the Flying Dutchman around southern Africa, because of the passing around South America is just as dangerous, even more dangerous than passing around South Africa. They also, obviously, there's a lot of shipwrecks there. They also have their own myth, which is their own one called the Kalush, which is just around Chile, just on the southern parts of South America. Again, the only repetition is a lot of storms, a lot of ships sinking in that
It normally
area.
goes about a captain that's normally a great sailor and then ends up doing something stupid, either because they're drunk or they're overly confident because they know they can do it. Because this specifically is he was a captain that sailed faster than everybody else. He got it done quickly. So
Yeah, but I'm talking about sightings now.
yes, but that's normally
So would the Kalush and the Flying Dutchman be the same ship?
no.
Just,
I can promise you. Look for who's the captain of the Kalush.
But how do you know? Did they talk to the guy and say, "Hey, are you?"
No, they will tell
David
you
Jones.
this ship went down there at that area and this is the sightings because obviously a ship doesn't look the same.
Okay, Google AI. The Kalush is a legendary ghost ship from Xilotu mythology in southern Chile. Is often described as a bright, bustling vessel with music and lights, which is the same as, well, the Flying Dutchman is just lights.
How do you mean?
And is
just
said to
lights?
appear at night, attracting sailors with the promise of a party. Ah, it's a party ship.
So no, it's not a Flying Dutchman
It's not the Flying Dutchman.
because that's a shipment ship. It ships goods.
Is it?
Goods, yes. The Flying Dutchman shipped goods.
Was the Flying Dutchman a good ship? I think, but all of them were merchant ships.
Which is there.
I think in general, I think the only reason you would sail
Ship, I'm guessing, is not.
it was either a slave ship or it was a merchant ship. And merchant ships would have been turned into slave ships. And then again, this is too late for slave ships, or too early for. Shoot, my history is terrible. Let me go back to what I saw about the Dutchman here. Interesting what they say here at Wikipedia about the Flying Dutchman. It's common superstition of mariners that at high southern latitudes on the coast of Africa, hurricanes are frequently ushered in by the appearance of a spectre ship, which is a mythical ghost ship, denominated the Flying Dutchman. The crew of the vessel are supposed to have been guilty of some dreadful crime, like you said now. So what they're just saying about you now is all the cyclones, all the tropical storms. Obviously, again, it's a stormy area, and mostly tied to where they saw, well, where there were big storms, there were the Flying Dutchman. So the repetition is in storms.
Yes, in most cases, but there are sightings where they said they saw it in clearer waters and it disappeared. The one thing that they normally talk about is this red light. It's red light shining, and then all of a sudden the ship appears in it, and then when you try to near it, it disappears. But there are sightings. Obviously, I couldn't find much about the sightings, but there are sightings where it was a clear waters, and it appeared full mass, everything, and in the red light, and then it disappeared.
Okay, but what would you do if you saw the Flying Dutchman now?
Make sure I wasn't the first person to see them.
Well, except for that, because we're not really much on boats, so we wouldn't
Yes, we
know.
don't
What
live
do you
next
do?
to
You
the
can't
ocean.
run anywhere.
Remember, there's people on land that still see them as well.
Yeah.
They don't say that it's not the same as in Pirates of the Caribbean. They don't board your boat and kill everybody off or anything. They just disappear and somebody dies eerily in that week. On the day or in that week.
Okay, but according to Google AI, there haven't been any recent sightings of the Flying Dutchman. So it stopped with technology.
Or they just stop reporting it.
The most recent documented sightings dates back to 1941. The sightings report as far back as 1881. In 1941 said no cell phones, no cameras yet.
That's like saying that the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist because there's no recent sightings. You do realize that, right?
Yes, but the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist.
You're the one that always says Nessie exists. Now all of a sudden you don't believe
I've
in
never
Nessie.
said Nessie exists. It's just
Yes, you have.
it would have been amazing if Nessie existed, but now we've got technology
Oh.
proving that Nessie doesn't exist. Back in the day, we saw the Loch Ness Monster on photos because one guy in like the entire country had a camera and he accidentally took a photo of something lumpy in the ocean or in the lake. And then there was a monster. Now everybody's got phones, so if you see the Loch Ness Monster, you're going to take a photo. The same with the Flying Dutchman. If you saw the Flying Dutchman, you would take a photo of the Flying Dutchman. Myths
It's
do
not
tend.
necessarily, it's a ghost ship. You won't be able to take a photo of it. And to today's day, because of the internet, you're more likely to think, oh, whatever, that's not a ghost ship. Whatever, it's somebody playing a prank on me. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, someone's going to die soon. You
Okay,
just
but
saw
how
the
would you
Flying
then know?
Dutchman.
How would you know if you saw the Flying Dutchman and you just saw another boat passing by? Did someone die? Is that basically it?
I'm guessing
If nobody
that
dies,
they-
it wasn't a Dutchman. If someone dies, it wasn't a Dutchman.
I'm guessing they didn't put two and two together and they thought it was a random accident that somebody died in their boats.
Or people just die on the ocean.
After they see a random ship, yes.
Okay, I don't see much more about that hasn't been covered about it yet here.
Okay. So if you were a sailor and saw the Flying Dutchman on the horizon, what would you do? Wave, run, or try to talk to the crew? Let us know on our socials.
If you enjoy diving down this rabbit hole into the world of weird with us, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share your own thoughts. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more content. And please share our podcast with fellow folklore lovers to help us grow.
Until next time, stay curious and keep the legends alive. Bye.
Bye.